For more on the Chattanooga shootings and the terror threat at home and abroad, we are joined by CBS News senior national security analyst Juan Zarate. He is in our Washington bureau. Juan, good morning.
Good morning, Vanita.
After attacks like this, the real question everyone's left asking is, what was the inspiration? And in this case, it feels like there's so much debate. Was it ISIS inspired? Was it self-motivated? What do you think?
Well, I think we don't know enough yet about the motivations of this particular individual. But the reality is that counterterrorism officials have been worried for a number of months and in recent weeks about the environment of radicalization that we've seen coming out of the Islamic State, coming out of the social media campaign that they have, the campaign by Al-Qaeda even before that, to try to inspire individuals to do precisely this, to attack fellow citizens in place, to take the jihad to their home countries. And really this is, as you've heard from officials, the worst nightmare, having an individual who's not on the radar screen decide to attack fellow citizens on a moment's notice and to create a tragedy like this in the heart of America.
Juan, you heard Dean describe this kid, a very American seeming kid. Nothing, at least until recently, to indicate any kind of radicalization here. This is kind of the worst nightmare as well, isn't it?
Yes, on two scores, Anthony. First, the challenge of trying to predict who is going to attack, who is going to be radicalized, what those pathways look like, because no single case looks like another. And we're going to have to find out more about this individual's trips to Jordan, Kuwait, whether or not he was interacting with radicalized ideologues and recruiters there, perhaps. Secondly, there's a real problem here because for the last few years, we've taken comfort in the fact that the American dream, the ideal of American integration, has been a buffer to this kind of radicalization. And certainly we haven't faced the kind of radicalized numbers that we see in Europe. And so this is disturbing on a couple of fronts, and we're just going to have to see what the information tells us.
More and more often we're hearing, even though this man did travel abroad, that these radicals don't have to travel abroad. They're getting messages from the internet. If that's the case, how do you begin to counter that? How can you counter a message that could be so pervasive?
Well, it's a great question, and it's something that has bedeviled both the Bush administration and now the Obama administration. How do you fight an ideology that seems so pervasive, that seems to be inspiring not just individuals in the heart of the Middle East where these fights are happening in places like Syria and Iraq, but also in the heart of Western capitals and in Western countries? I think part of it is flooding the zone with counter messages. You've seen a lot of attempts to empower credible voices, in particular within Islamic communities, to try to counter not just the narrative, but to provide an alternate vision for what it means to be Muslim in the 21st century. The challenge, though, is this message, this ideology does have purchase and allure for certain individuals. And the reality is you can have one person like this decide to take the jihad into their own hands. And you see that tragedy unfold in Tennessee.
Yeah, and as you say, Juan, it's so hard trying to identify who that person might be. Juan Zarate in Washington this morning. Thank you, Juan.